All right, when you think about the biggest players in crypto, the whales, who pops into your head? Probably some tech billionaire, right? Or maybe one of those anonymous early adopters. But what if I told you that one of the largest Bitcoin holders on the entire planet is the US government? Yeah, it's a wild thought, but it's true. And the story of how this happened really kicks off with one single, absolutely massive bust.
So yeah, this whole thing really blew up because of one specific event that happened not too long ago. We're talking about a law enforcement operation so huge it sent shockwaves through the entire crypto community. And suddenly, everyone was looking at the government's, let's call it a growing digital wallet.
And here's the number that just got everybody's attention. Get this, over 127,000 Bitcoin. All of it seized in just one operation. I mean, to put that into perspective for you, getting your hands on that much crypto all at once is, well, it's pretty much unheard of, even for the biggest whales out there. So you're probably wondering, where in the world did this mountain of digital cash even come from? Well, it was all confiscated from this huge international scam. It was linked to a guy named Chen Zhi, and the scheme had a really grim name. It's called pig butchering. Okay, so for anyone who hasn't heard of this, a pig butchering scam is not your typical quick hit. It is a super sophisticated long-term fraud. The scammers, they fatten up their victims, who they call pigs, by building a relationship. We're talking weeks, sometimes months, just gaining their trust. Then, once they have them hooked, they convince them to pour all this money into a totally fake crypto investment. It's just devastating for the people who fall for it. And the scale of this one scam, it's just staggering. At today's prices, that seizure is worth about $13.2 billion. Yeah, that's billion with a B. All of that from just one single criminal operation. Wow. But here's the kicker. As absolutely massive as that one seizure was, it's really just one piece of the puzzle. It's the newest and, yeah, the biggest piece, but it's just an addition to an already enormous pile of crypto the government has been sitting on. Okay, so let's zoom out a bit and look at the whole picture here. We're going to unveil the government's full crypto wallet, because this one seizure was just the latest deposit. Let's find out just how deep this thing goes. And when you actually add up all of these different seizures, the conclusion is, well, it's pretty shocking. The US government isn't just some small-time player in the crypto world. No, it's one of the largest known Bitcoin holders on the entire planet, a true crypto whale. So what's the grand total we're talking about? Almost 317,000 Bitcoin. That is an absolutely insane amount. It's a truly market-moving quantity of crypto, and it's all just sitting there in wallets controlled by one government. And what does that look like in good old US dollars? We are talking about nearly $36 billion. An absolutely gigantic portfolio. And remember, the whole thing was built from the proceeds of crime. So, the big question is, where did all of this digital treasure actually come from? I mean, that Chen Zhi bust was huge for sure, but it's not the whole story, not even close. Let's break down the sources. Yeah, looking at the sources for the government's crypto hoard, it's basically a greatest hits of major cybercrime. Each big chunk of Bitcoin is tied to some notorious case you've probably heard of from the wild history of the internet. And you can really see it here. The government's whole portfolio is pretty much dominated by three main criminal cases. That recent Chen Zhi seizure we've been talking about, that's the biggest slice of the pie right there. But it's got company from a couple of other really infamous names from crypto's past. So let's look at the numbers. At the top, you've got the Chen Zhi seizure with over 127,000 BTC. Right behind that, you have almost 107,000 BTC from the legendary Bitfinex Hack. And then there's nearly 82,000 BTC that was seized from the infamous darknet marketplace Silk Road. Every single one of these represents a huge win for law enforcement that ended with a massive transfer of digital wealth into their hands. Okay, so the government is sitting on a giant pile of Bitcoin. It's a wild fact for sure, but why does this actually matter? What's the big deal? Well, this goes way beyond just being a fun piece of trivia. This gets to the billion-dollar question and raises some fundamental issues about the future of crypto. All right, here's the bottom line. When any single entity holds this much Bitcoin, their actions can seriously influence the entire market. Think about it. If the US government suddenly decided to sell off even a chunk of its holdings, it could send absolute shockwaves through the Bitcoin market. And this isn't just about price action. There's a bigger, kind of philosophical issue here.
We're talking about an asset that was designed to be decentralized, and now a massive amount of it is concentrated in the hands of a single central government.
So, what we're left with is this totally fascinating and honestly unprecedented situation. The whole idea behind crypto was decentralization, right? No central control. So, what happens when one of the biggest whales out there, one with the power to make massive waves in the market, isn't some tech billionaire, but a government? That right there is the billion-dollar question.